This carnival is special one at Spice Isle Jewelry. Get up to 40% off our collection of silver and gold jewelry with purchases above $115. Visit our 2 locations on Grenville Street, St. George's and Spiceland Mall Grand Dance and see our fine selection of traditional West Indian bangles, necklaces, earrings, rings and our unique handmade pieces. Step into Spice Isle Jewelry and shop in air-conditioned comfort with friendly, helpful and courteous staff. We also pay the most for scrap gold. Our repair service is second to none. Treat yourself or someone special with something special from Spice Isle Jewelry. Serving you since 1986. Call us on telephone number 440-3155 or 440-6648. Sale ends August 31st.
Welcome to Ride Along Live for today, Wednesday. Are they like the horn? I had that specially installed, by the way. Hey, you can be ride along if you don't have a horn, right? Yeah, specially installed, guys. Tell you, this is upgrade stuff. Which other program that you know have a none? Welcome to Ride Along Live, guys. Very interesting program lined up for you today. Interactive conversation. Everything right here. So as you guys come and go ahead and share up the thing right now, let me do the same. Share the thing, and as soon as you share, I want you to say, I share. Akeem, how you doing? As soon as you share, I want you to say, I share. Guys, Miss Daisy Hazzard is my guest today. And with all the conversations that have been happening around social media, there is a lot that we need to discuss. All right? So, Jackie, you share? Thank you so much for sharing, Jackie. Thank you. Jocelyn, big up yourself. Thank you so much. Oh, man, look how I messed up. I pressed the wrong button. I'm supposed to share. I click don't share. Yes. All right. Make sure everybody's shared up. Ernie, how you doing? One last. I got to share it all over, man. This is important stuff. Important conversation today. Mish, big up yourself. Thank you so much. I'm doing my best, guys. Camille, thank you so much for sharing. Big up yourself. Guys, after the last program that we had on Monday, right? My producers and them also installed another very important button. They installed another very important button, which I would find very useful. It's the, so if somebody says something, and even when the caller call in and they say something, I could just go, and so that don't go out on air. Tell you, man, this is a complete upgrade. Essential stuff. Essential stuff. Yes. All right. So let me go straight into it, guys. I was wasting time for you guys to share, but let's start the thing, right? Start the conversation. Now, Daisy Hazzard is serving her second term as the PRO of the Public Workers Union. You know, there have been many conversations over the past couple of days over the firing of a few individuals in Carriacou. The conversation, I mean, it become a very consuming conversation. We're hearing it from all over. Just as of a few days ago, the Attorney General took to social media and basically gave some information, some clarification on some of the things that is happening in Carriacou. Now, Daisy Hazzard is my guest today, to, as I said, to add some clarification and further understanding on the matter. Ms. Hazzard, how are you? Welcome to the ride.
Good afternoon, Junior. Good afternoon to your audience. And thank you so very much for allowing me to be on your ride today. I do appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's your first time here, Daisy. I'm surprised.
It's actually my very first time. And in the last number of days, I've had to assess myself and say something's happening, be it negative or positive, because I'm being invited to speak on behalf of the PWU on rides, if you may call it, and platforms that I've never been on before. So definitely it seems that something is happening and there is a conversation that the public wants to have.
Good thing or bad thing? What do you think?
Yeah. Well, for some people, it may seem a good thing. And for the union and for myself, it is business as usual. The PWU is in the business of representing workers. We're in the business of advocating for workers. And once they are our members, and once they belong to our union, and once they work in public service, we are in the business of advocating for them, representing them. And we will do that without fear or favor.
Nice.
And so for our union, it is a good thing.
Okay, so before we get into that, before we get into the big elephant in the room, I want to learn a little bit more about you. So you are the PRO of PWU. You're serving your second term. You was recently elected in 2019. Was it 2019? You work in the ministry. You work in the Ministry of ICT as a senior information officer, and you were also involved in the education sector. Did I get that right?
Yes, absolutely. So I've been a civil servant. This has been my life path, my career. I was a teacher for many years. I then moved to the Ministry of Education, still as an educator in different portfolios. And just about a year ago, I moved to the Ministry of ICT, still under sort of an education mandate in the area of digital literacy. And my tenure in the PWU started in 2019 when I put myself up to take up the sort of a voluntary position as PRO. And then again ran for another stint and was duly elected by members to represent the PWU as PRO.
Generally, how has it been?
You know, Junior, when I joined the public service, of course, I joined as a teacher. So for over 16 years, my representative union was the GUT. Mm-hmm. And then for the other half of my career, my representative union, of course, was the PWU. And I'm always someone who pay attention. I pay attention. I like to be involved. I'm not someone to sit by and say, have other people do the work or carry the burden. And in 2019, after observing my union for a number of years, the PWU, looking at what happened in 2018 when salaries were docked, and looking at the trajectory of leadership in my union, I felt that I should not just stand on the sidelines and criticize my union or try to give help from the sidelines, but I should really try to get on the executive so that I can make more of a meaningful contribution. And I went into that union really thinking that I'm going in there to help build my union, which is what I've done. I'm very, very proud of my representation of workers in the last 3.5 years. I'm proud of what I've been able to do with and for the PWU. I'm very, very, very honored to have had that opportunity. But I also found myself in the last 2-3 years pitted against an administration, which is the outgoing administration, the NNP, because in a lot of their practices, the practices of governance were so excessive under the just outgoing NNP administration that in addition to that, I also found myself on programs like these, pitted in the public domain and crying out to the public and saying, look, there needs to be redress in the public service. There needs to be redress in our governance structure, how our country is being governed, how the public service is being governed. And here today, there's a new administration in office.
Yeah.
And the very first time that the union opened its mouth to speak publicly about a matter that is unfolding with our workers that we felt the need to bring to the public domain, we are seeing that so many persons seem to be unhappy about it. Well, Junior, they will have to continue to be unhappy because as long as I am a member of the executive and as long as I am PRO, if there are matters to speak about concerning union and members, I will do so.
What are some of the issues that you butt heads with the NNP during that administration?
A lot of the issues surrounded many of our members in the service are acting. So throughout the service, we have what is called substantive positions. And many persons are acting in positions, in many instances, above their grade. And so they will get an acting allowance, but they will never be confirmed, although the law clearly speaks to you as to how and how long a worker should act and when they should be confirmed. And we felt from a union's point of view, and having observed the government, that a lot of people were kept acting so that they could be kept under the thumb of the government, so that they could not perform their functions without fear or without favor, because no one wants to have to lose income that you've grown used to.
Right.
The other query that we had with the government was that there was so much what we would, as the union might have termed, victimization, where we saw many civil servants, including myself, after I joined the union, being moved from your substantive position and being placed into corners and being placed in areas of the service where you literally were made not to work or you could not progress in your career. This happened to me.
Right.
I lost my substantive position in 2019, and for almost 2 years and more, I did not even have a desk or an office in the government service. I did not make a huge clamor and cry about it in the public domain because as PRO of the union, I knew that there were hundreds of workers in similar positions, and it would be selfish of me to speak about my own cause and not represent these workers. And so that's one of the things that I've had to represent very forcefully in the public domain in the last 3 and so years. The other thing that we had to represent is the issue of contract workers, unestablished workers, workers without any sort of instruments of appointment, but persons who are serving government and country for long-standing periods as much as 19, 20 years.
Yeah.
And we have made that clamor that there is no way someone can be working for all this time and still not have job security.
Right.
Still not be able to go to a banking institution and be able to get secure finances and live and establish a livelihood. And today we find ourselves as a union coming into the public domain to speak about the very same thing happening under the present administration.
Yeah, you know, I spoke to Brian Grimes a few months ago, I should say, and that was one of the things that we spoke about, contract workers, right?
Yes.
During the previous administration, was that a major problem?
It was a major problem, and I, as PRO of the union, I brought this to the public domain. I took up this cause, this fight, very deliberately and objectively in 2021 specifically, and brought to the public the piece of law or labor law 29.5, which speaks to contract work and how and when a person can be contracted and how and when, for how long a contract worker can be a contract worker, and what happens in law, even if there is nothing in writing after a 2-year and in some cases a 6-month period. And that's a record I'm proud of. I stand by it because I've advocated as the PRO. I've taken even licks from members, established members who have said, why is the union and why are you fighting so hard for unestablished workers? But these workers are workers providing service alongside established workers. And for as many years, and in many instances, many more years, a lot of those persons have come up for retirement last year. Some of them are going to come up for retirement this year. They are not eligible for the 1958 pension benefits, which we are going to receive in November. And so the union has been pleading this cause in the public domain. And I have been doing it as PRO of this union since 2019, and in particular, over the last year.
You know, I know what everybody wants to talk about, but I need to get some background. It's important that we establish some of the background because, as I said, there's a big elephant in the room, and everybody here, they're throwing out the question, let's talk about this, let's talk about this. But I like to take my time We have time.
Absolutely.
Yes, yes. So when you ride and you glide, you know, you don't have to rush.
And there's a long stretch of highway ahead of us.
Yes, 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 yes. Again, guys, we're speaking here with Daisy Hazzard, who is the PRO of the PWU. Now, I want to ask you another background information as it relates to the contract workers, right? How long could a person, an individual working for a company, work as a contract worker? Could that, yeah, what's the lifespan of that contract?
There are sections of the law that speaks to this, the Labor Code of Grenada, and I'm going to speak specifically to Section 29.5. 29.5 tells you that a person who performs continuous work at the same rate, in the same manner, every day over a period of time, if that person is on contract, when that contractual period comes to an end, even if it was a written contract, if the person is kept on in the employment, doing the same job, performing the same functions in the same way, that now becomes a contract. In some cases, it's after 6 months. In some cases, it's 2 years, but I think the law really recognizes 6 months. And
Okay.
that is across the board, be it private sector, be it public sector. And so that is why employers have to be careful that if you employ someone on a contract and you are giving them the same duties and responsibilities day after day, and the contract comes to an end, you either issue them a new one, but if you fail to do so, then it means that they have become permanent in your establishment by virtue of what they've been doing. And in the public service, there are workers in excess of 19 years, going on 20 years, a huge majority of workers who are so employed by the government and people of Grenada.
Hold up. So you're telling me that there are some workers right now working 18 and 19 years with a contract that have never been renewed?
Some of these workers, Junior, as I've said repeatedly in the public before, have no contracts at all. So they were not hired with a contract. Some workers have contract for service. Some workers have contract off service. There are
Right.
different permutations. But altogether, regardless of what contract workers have, what we are seeing across the board is that they continue to work for government and for the state, doing the same jobs. You also have persons who have no letters at all. Some of them 19 years. They were brought into the system. They have been serving continuously, regularly, but they have no letter, no instrument of appointment, as we call it. You also have persons who may have had a letter from a PS, or someone who might have had a letter from the PSC and that letter is expired, but it expired 10 years ago, or it expired 18 years ago. And so this is the public service that we are facing today, which we have been facing for the last 19 years. It's not a new problem. It's an old, long-standing problem.
So with these contract workers, are they still paying union dues? Are they being still represented by the unions?
Right. And so again, Junior, it is one of the complexities because not every person who is employed in the public service pays union dues. You have persons who might be in the service longer than other persons, but based on how they were brought into the public service, they either pay a due or not. And these are all the irregularities and anomalies which this union and myself has been bringing to the public in the public domain and ventilating for years now.
But how has the union represented, or how has the union forced or put pressure on the previous administration to change that rule? Because the previous administration been there for a period of time. What has the union been doing to put pressure on the previous administration to change that?
Let's be clear, Junior. If a person has been working 19 years or 17 years or 15 years and they are still not established, it does not fall under one administration, because in the last 20 years, we have had more than one party, political party, forming the government of Grenada.
Right.
But we have had the NNP as a party forming the government for far longer periods than any other political party. And so if we had to say that there is an administration which did not seek to address the situation, it would be the NNP. Also, in the period that I've been PRO and agitating for this, both in the public domain and on the table, where our union has been advocating in writing, we have done as much as we can. What we saw from the previous administration, and if the public would remember, even as early as February, as recently as February of this year, 2022, our union met with then Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell and the PS of the DPA at the time, and we got a commitment to begin the process of regularization. What we also heard from the DPA, which is Department of Public Administration at that time, was that even that department were not aware of every single person in the service who was working for government, because some persons are just not on the books.
Were you ever
And so
successful? Was the union successful in?
No, because what happened after that commitment was made in February, we saw no further movement on behalf of the government to attempt to do so. And
so what did the union do? What did the union do?
When we engaged the PS at the time, the PS told us that the politician, that's Dr. Mitchell, when he says something, it doesn't mean it's policy. So the union at this time, there is a new administration in office. They have campaigned and brought the same matter to the public domain. Right. They have resolved to and promised to the Grenadian people in their manifesto and in their campaign promises to solve the problem within the public service and to ensure, in the words of now Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell, that there is one single public service and that there is no parallel service as we are seeing presently.
So the union was not successful in negotiating with the previous administration?
Not on that matter at all. Because we have to understand that the previous administration seemed to have liked the idea of being able to keep people afraid, not secure in their employment. And so that is, we believe that is why that situation persisted for as long as it did.
So it was not successful. So it was a failure in negotiating with the previous administration.
Well, I wouldn't say it's a failure because negotiations take time. And remember, the union is not the policymaker. Neither can we sign off on documents. It comes back to the will of the politician, the policymaker.
So if a policymaker or a politician just decide to blatantly disobey or disregard the union, the mandates, right? The union, what position does it put the union in, and what kind of pressure could you put to force the administration to do left A or B?
Junior, I love this question. One, the union cannot mandate the government. The union has no power to mandate the government per se. We can't say to the government, sign or else. We can't say to the government, you have to sign or else we're going to take you out of office, or you're no longer going to be prime minister or minister. So there is no mandate that the union can place on the government, but what the union can do is advocate and represent, which is what we have been doing. What the union can also do is to seek public pressure, which is what we've been doing. Yeah. And I believe all of us saw on June 23rd that perhaps the public pressure, because a part of the NDC's campaign, a huge threshold of their campaign, had to do with labor issues relating to the public service, the pension and gratuity matter, and the same unestablished and contract work, which we are talking about here today. And so it might have taken a long time. Let us also look at the pension matter. The pension matter took 38 years of persons retiring without receiving their pension. 38 long years, which is more than half of my lifetime, almost my entire lifetime. And eventually unions took this matter to court and won. And God is a good God. Today we have a government and an administration in office who has promised to pay the pension. And we are absolutely certain that come November 15, we are going to see persons beginning to receive their pensions.
Absolutely.
I am working presently where I sit in the little corner in which I've been placed. The pension desk that has just been sort of reestablished again. These workers are alongside me, and all day today, all week, you're seeing pensioners coming in just to ensure that their matters are being handled properly. And so we are very grateful for that, but it takes time. Industrial matters do not always resolve themselves easily.
Right. So I just want to establish that you did apply pressure, but it was not enough to change anything.
Well, I wouldn't say it was not enough to change anything, because at the end of the day, we got a judgment in the court.
Now, I'm talking about permanent.
Yes, we were not, no. The contract work, there was no will by the previous administration beyond making empty promises at the table. There was no will by that administration to do anything about contract work.
Have the union ever handled a situation when the previous administration came into power and they would have been, or they would have fired excess amount of people? That's in the previous administration scenario. Have the union ever took a stand, or did the union take a stand when that happened, when the previous administration came into power?
Well, Junior, I would want to think that that's a question that's beside the point, but you've asked it and the public seem to be asking it, so let's answer. The Public Workers Union of Grenada was established in 1931. Right. That's before my time. And successive presidents, so successive executives would have to deal with situations as they arise. In my time, whatever situation arises that is brought to our attention or we become aware of, we deal with it. There is
but
no
government is a continuum. Labor integration matters should be a continuum. You have to take.
Well, Junior, even if it's a continuum, you cannot ask me what someone did in 1931. You cannot ask me what someone did in the 60s or the 70s. You can ask me about my present tenure because I'm here today. Okay. I wasn't even born in 1931 when this union was established. So to ask me about all the precedent of all the matters that might have arisen in the past and how the union dealt with it, that's ludicrous. How am I supposed to answer that question?
But
what I can answer for now.
Is it safe to say or to assert that when the previous administration, or if the previous administration had situations where individuals was fired, that the union didn't take a strong, solid stand? Is it appropriate?
But Junior, how can anyone assert that? The business of the union every single day is to represent workers. And so there are workers who may get victimized or workers who may have problems and so, and may never bring it to the union's attention. There are workers who don't want to write. There are workers who are afraid to write. There are workers who are too timid. There are workers who prefer not to. Where we become aware of situations or where situations are brought to us, we deal with it. Many times workers come to us, even under the previous administration, and they will bring a matter. And you advise them, and then later on they tell you, my husband or my wife tell me don't bother. They might tell you, God is love, leave them to God. We see many, many, many instances like that. But where they are, so instance, this morning I became aware of someone saying, well, my wife in 2013, I think it was, where was the union then? And where was the union when this one and that one? Who are you asking? Are you asking me? I can account to you for 2019 to 2022. Right. But if you want to speak about 2013, the gentleman was speaking about a person who was also on the executive of the union at that time. So my question is, throw it back to your wife, because she was on the executive. I was nowhere near close to your union at that time. I was probably under the GOT. Right. And so the fury that we're hearing in the public about where was the union and why didn't the union, I've heard why didn't the union when the PS in Carriacou was victimized. I've heard why didn't the union when the former president, well, I've been victimized. As I said earlier on your program, I was victimized, you can call it that, in 2019. I was a member of the union. There are presently 5 members of our executive, or let's put it 4, who have been shunted out of their substantive positions, many of them for many years. So the union is always here working on these matters. It takes time. Yeah, but I would assume, and I'm not, when I speak about what the union did, I'm not speaking about 1932, by the way. I'm talking about the previous administration. Well, but there should be a level of precedence that would be set. There should be records. There should be, I mean, everyone don't just come in and make policies. Policies should be ongoing, and policies, you would come in and adapt policies and principles of the previous administration that came before you. So I'm just saying, if it's a policy of the union to represent when previous administration would have overstepped their policy, and the answer to that is the policy of this union is to support and represent workers. We supported and represented Gemma Bain Thomas. I came onto the executive long after Gemma Bain Thomas was victimized, and every time I have the opportunity, I speak about her in the public domain. And every time I have the opportunity, we speak about and represent workers who have been treated unfairly by previous administrations. That's the business of our union. It has not changed from 1931 to now. All right. Okay, so let's deal with this particular issue here now. There have been so much talk about what happened in Carriacou. There have been so much conflicting information. I myself I got various versions of this information. What are we talking about? What is the situation here? I'm hearing hundreds of people was let go by the new administration. I'm hearing it's only 2. I'm hearing it's only 4. Clarify it for me. What are we talking about? What's the situation in Carriacou? Right. So I cannot present to you a holistic view of what is happening in Carriacou and Petit Martinique. The government, the present administration, would have to present that to the public. From the reports that the unions have been receiving, because it's not just the PWU, a number of workers have been released. I have heard that there was a first batch, a second batch, and a third batch. And it happens under every administration. What the union is concerned with and who we are representing are the 5 persons who belong to our union, our members. And these 5 persons, This is what our union is concerned about. The 5 persons,
Yes.
I have names on here, so I'm not going to leave it up on your screen, but this is who we are representing. This is who we are concerned about. Of the many, many, many that we have heard about, they are not our members. The cause that we are fighting
we're talking about
are
5.
persons who are our members.
We're not talking about 500.
I don't know about 500. I cannot speak to that. The administration would have to answer that question.
But that number been circulated.
I do not know. I cannot speak to it.
Okay, so we're talking about 4 or 5 people. I have 4 on my list. I have Toya, Kasha, Angela, and a Lewis. I have 4. So these individuals were was removed or contract terminated, contract expired, and they lost their jobs, right? These individuals, are they contract workers or were they contract workers?
None of these workers, Junior, are workers employed with the PSC. None of these workers have permanent employment under the PSC. But at the start of your program, as host, you asked the questions that laid the groundwork, so I do not need to go back there, in terms of when does a worker become permanent. So let me just go through my list here. There is a geriatric assistant supervisor who has been working for 18 years with the government and people of Grenada.
Yes.
That lady is 54 years old. She's been working and providing service with the government and people of Grenada for 18 years. Many of your viewers may not want to hear it. I'm reading their comments because it's not the truth that they want to hear, but those are the facts. Whether your mind is made up and you don't want to hear the fact, that's a matter for you. But the PWU will present the facts as we know it. Another employee was dismissed. So the previous employee I spoke about, she was moved from being an assistant supervisor at a geriatric assistant supervisor, meaning she's providing care to elderly citizens, and she was moved to the agriculture as an agricultural worker in Limley. Limley is where farming is done. There is livestock production there as well. And her movement says as an agricultural worker. There is another one that was dismissed. That one has 15 years of service. There's another one that was also dismissed. She was given 1 month in lieu of vacation. So she accumulated vacation as much as 27 days, and she was given that much as well. I'm going to refer to my notes to tell you how long she was working. There's another one who was also terminated as of August 2nd, 2022. And another one with 13 years of employment with government, 13 years. That's a child in Form 2.
Yeah.
And when I say a child in Form 2, meaning a 13-year-old is a child in Form 2, August 2nd, 2022. None of these workers ever received disciplinary action. None of these workers were ever cited according to any rules and regulations for misconduct, be it for work, performance, or otherwise. These are our workers, and these are the persons we are representing.
Now, I want to play back a quick interview that was done by the Attorney General and also Minister of Labor, as she made a, hold on. All right, let me make sure that doesn't happen again. Yeah, I want to play back this audio.
Please go right ahead.
Yes, let's take a listen to what was said by the Attorney General. Play it back right now.
Thank you, Terry. Yes. Well, let me first say to the people of Grenada that in execution of my duties as Minister of Labor, only Friday, I had a very cordial, productive, and I would say fruitful interaction with the Grenada Trade Unions Council, a delegation. And from my recollection, all of the unions were represented. It went very well. And we spoke of a number of issues that are of interest to the unions at this time and of interest to the government as well as we pursue our transformation agenda. And in that discourse, never once did the unions express concern about any dismissal, you say, of
Yeah.
hundreds of people. No,
That's the allegations.
that was not a concern raised by the unions at all. Um, and I can tell you right off the bat, there's absolutely no basis to those allegations.
Okay.
We have not sent home. We have not sent home anyone except, as I understand it, about 3 or 4 people in Carriacou, which I will get to, in terms of the circumstances under which the relationship between employee-employee relationship between them and the government was ended. But all of the people under the various programs of the previous administration, as we indicated on the campaign trail, they have been retained.
Right.
So I would really like to know where those allegations are coming from. Certainly not from the unions, from the trade union movement, because they were not raised with us, and certainly not from the workers,
All right.
because that did not happen.
So,
Mhm.
so in the interest of bringing clarity first and foremost to this matter, for all those who are on Facebook spreading misinformation and making mischief, so to speak, the record is the government of Grenada has not terminated the services of any employee,
No, and certainly not hundreds.
and certainly not hundreds,
Certainly,
as the allegations go.
yes, I heard a voice note that was
Yeah.
making around saying 500 to 700.
Yeah,
But we would like those 500 to 700 people to come forward
right.
if they
Absolutely.
exist out there, because it's
Absolutely.
absolutely
So, in other
not
words,
true.
mischief is
Yes.
afoot.
Mischief, propaganda, they are afoot.
Okay, so
And as I say to you, I understand that the trade union, the public workers union in particular, hosted a press conference recently in which they dealt with um, the termination of contracts and ending of a relationship of about 4 people in Carriacou. Those are the ones I am aware of as Minister of Labor and as AG, because in my capacity as AG, some of these things will come by for
Naturally.
advice. And as I understand it, in Carriacou, there are some people who immediately before the elections conducted themselves in a manner that breached the staff orders and the Public Service Commission regulation. And those 2 bits of regulations, they govern the conduct of public officers or people in the employ of the government of Grenada, and they govern the hiring and the termination of people in the employ
so
of the
just
government of
to
Grenada.
bring about clarity,
All right. So we'll come back to another piece of this interview there, because there was a lot that was said, and I know that you want to address some of the items that was mentioned there. But here's what we heard as far as a summary. The four persons with contractual arrangement were dismissed in Carriacou. The ground for the dismissal was as followed: high unproductivity on the job, display a level of misconduct, display a high level of disrespect to other workers and also the minister and members of the public, and involved in active political campaign. Would that be any grounds for dismissal as a contract worker?
Whether it's a contract worker
Or any worker?
established worker, any worker employed with the government and people of Grenada is guided and bound by the SRNO, which is the rules and regulations that you follow. And you've spoken to, and the Attorney General has spoken to several statutes. There are several procedures that can be followed and is followed whenever a worker contravenes any of the staff orders. The final act that can be committed if a person contravenes the SRNO would be termination. In some cases, the government can even pursue legal action. The softest thing that can happen is a verbal warning. The next thing that can happen is a verbal warning again. On the third occasion, a worker can be circularized. You can be given a letter. It can be placed on your file. It cannot be placed on your file. So if we had to discuss all the ways and permutations in which workers can contravene the SRNO and all the ways and permutations in which a worker can be disciplined, we would have to do probably perhaps a 2-hour program. In the case of these workers, and in response to what the Attorney General said, let me show you this. I'm trying to protect people's privacy.
Right.
This here speaks to Government of Grenada letterhead. If we look, we'll see the coat of arms. So what I'm showing to the public here.
Well, we cannot see it.
Okay, you cannot see it.
Blurred out.
So what
But
I
you
have in my
to
possession are the termination or the letters that workers received, moving them out of taking care of children in daycare centers.
Is this the same document? Is it the same document that I have on the screen?
That seems to be one of them. That's Louis Joseph.
That's a termination.
Moving them out, so you have everything, juniors. But I still have, from the union's point of view, I have to protect people's privacy. You can share it, but I will not.
But rest assured that I have all the files. I have everything.
So what these termination letters said is that these workers contravened Section 74, 1(6) of SRNO 27. In one case, I think 36 was cited, 36D and a number. But in most cases, the section that was cited was the section relating to political activity.
Right.
In the other instance, what was cited was, I think, misconduct and disrespecting a minister. Mm-hmm. Now, Tevin Andrew, Minister for Carriacou and Petit-Martinique Affairs, became minister on June 30th. And so what the Attorney General just said to the public there is that she is satisfied that Minister Tevin Andrew was disrespected by a worker in his capacity as Minister for Carriacou and Petit-Martinique Affairs. And the union says categorically, this is an untruth. No such thing happened. There is no proof or evidence on any worker's file that would substantiate that claim. If a political candidate in the public domain prior to June 23rd or prior to June 30th, when he was sworn in as a minister of government, felt that he did not like something that someone said to him and felt disrespected, you were not minister then. You were a political candidate. You became minister on June 30th. And so if you're saying that someone disrespected you as minister, it would have to be after you were sworn into the cabinet of Grenada and the government of Grenada on June 30th. And the union makes it categorically clear that no one, not the Attorney General, not anyone else, can prove this, because to prove it, it cannot be hearsay. It has to be on the worker's file. Let us go back to what the Attorney General said. Madam Attorney General said on Friday, which is August 19th, I had a cordial conversation and interaction with the TUC and heard about these allegations. By Sunday, the matter was investigated and the Attorney General proved that these workers and that everything that was done, that these workers were fired because they contravened and the staff order 27 and that they were disrespectful to a minister. I would like to ask the Attorney General to show us the files. And this is what the public needs to understand. You cannot just terminate a worker on the basis of a hearsay. Gathering evidence as the Attorney General of our country cannot be on the basis of hearsay. You would have to examine the evidence.
There are some other items that's outlined on this termination letter. One, your temporary appointment takes effect from the 1st of July, 2023, and will continue until further notice. That is there.
You said 2023. We're not in 2023.
That's on this termination letter right here. Sorry, hold on. That's what it says. So probably hold on. Let me go back to it. That's what it says. It says that your temporary appointment effective. Sorry, 2013. My bad. 2013, and will continue until further notice. He says that the wage, of course, he says the wage, and he says you will be subject to the provision of the Public Service Commission regulation, the Civil Service Staff orders, the Finance and Audit Act, and other regulations from time to time. You will be directly responsible for community development officer. Basically, it gives them it outlines that, and they also say your appointment can be terminated 1 month with 1 month notice in writing by either party. So how is that not the right part?
You see, Junior, we cannot have it anyway. We cannot have these workers be accountable to civil service rules and regulations, to the SR&O, to public service rules and regulations, on the one hand, when it's convenient to us. So we want to be able to dismiss and fire and terminate at will. But on the other hand, the other pieces of law, civil service law, which speaks to contractual employment, we do not want to abide by it. A worker cannot be temporary and on contract after having served all these years. It's the same SR&O. It's the same laws that speak to it. So you cannot, by virtue of the same laws and regulations, terminate the worker today when you have had them serving in excess of the period that the law stipulates that they can serve as a contract or temporary worker. It's as simple as that. So it's either we are abiding by the SR&O, we are abiding by the laws of Grenada in its full ambit, or we are cherry picking the ones that we would like to have abided by.
We got a call on the line. Let's just take this quick call and we'll come back. We got a whole lot of questions coming in. Caller, you live? Yes. Caller, you there?
Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Yeah, hi. How are you doing? We got a lot. We got a yeah. Go ahead, caller. Go ahead.
I want to commend the PWU. I think y'all are doing a fantastic job in representing the workers whose dues y'all are collecting. I want to clarify something with the listening audience. According to the Employment Act of Grenada, the law that deals with employment, employer and employers, it says that a worker who has representation such as a union, a bargaining unit, should not be treated with any prejudice when they go to the Ministry of Labor for assistance for things like these, which means whether the employee has a union such as the PWU, they are to be treated fairly when they go to the Ministry of Labor. Unfair dismissal, wrongful dismissal, whatever it is, according to the law, again, the Employment Act, they have within 3 months to see the Labor Commissioner. And this is something that has not been happening here in Grenada due to a lot of corruption, I would say, corrupt practices. Now, as it relates to Section 29.5, I want to again commend the union and other persons who have brought this to the attention of the listening public, that 29.5 could make a contract worker permanent, because this is what the law says. What I am very confused about is the fact that this is our law and we are paying persons in the public service to honor our laws. And now we have the union fighting for our laws to be acknowledged and honored. This is really a sad state, you know. And I want to encourage the people that the people need to take a stand and take time to read the laws and support the union. The union can only do so much. We have heard that Ms. Hazzard and everyone else in the union would say they do not have the authority to mandate the government to do anything. Whether they are breaking the laws or not, they are only able to advocate. And they need the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique to assist with that. And we have to remember that the people are the ones who are going to benefit from this. The people are the workers. We are the workers. Now, what I am also confused about is that there was an interview with the president of the Public Workers Union and Mr. Ruggles Ferguson, the learned attorney who practices in Grenada and has been practicing. And one of the dismissal letters in the quotation or the reference that was made to dismiss one of those workers that we're speaking about this afternoon was a law that does not exist. And this is what we learned from Mr. Ruggles Ferguson, based on the document that he received. It was a law that did not exist, something that came from our government office, from
Right.
a permanent secretary.
Right.
Right? This is embarrassing. And the final thing, Junior, is that the Minister of Labor and the Attorney General said that the leader, the union leader, Mr. Grimes, defamed the character. She implied that he defamed the character of persons by saying this was an act of terrorism. But when we look at the definition of terrorism, it doesn't necessarily mean the use of violence. It means the use of intimidation, right? And this is what has been happening in Grenada. It has been happening. So I do agree with the gentleman that it is
Right.
an act of terrorism. And you know, Ms. Hazzard, keep doing the fantastic work that you all are doing. We all are benefiting and everyone to come after us. So
Thank you.
Congrats on that. Jude.
Thank you so much, Earl. Yeah. Wish to respond?
Thank you, Junior, and thank you, caller. Thank you so much. Of course, the union will do what it has to do. We did not lose a mandate. I was on a program, I think, 2 days ago, and it seems that there is a section of the population that would like the union to be silent and to not perform its functions. But when this administration won a mandate on June 23rd, the union did not lose a mandate to represent its workers. I'm looking at the comments, Junior, and I have to laugh because I'm seeing so much irrationality. I'm seeing persons saying actually what I did not say. For instance, I categorically said that the 5 persons that the union is speaking about and has spoken out about, we represent them. They are our members. And yet I'm seeing your viewers, your listeners commenting. And again, we understand that there may be a faction of the population now who thinks that what should apply is Bush law, or law according to a particular color, and that perhaps the union should say nothing at this time. The public is free to their opinions. They are free to their views, what the union will do. And what I will do, as long as I'm PRO of this union, I will represent workers without fear or favor. I will represent workers as in the best way that I can as PRO of this union, where I'm aware of and where they bring their matters to our attention. And to those persons who may not like it, I will have to say that you will have to learn to live with it, because the union has not lost its mandate. And if we were to go the road, Junior, of, well, it's our time now and we are in office now, and so there should be no voices that speaks out and says, hey, we need to course correct on something, or perhaps we need to look at what we are doing in this situation here, then we are in for a rough ride. Because governance, and as I've made the case very clearly in the public many, many times before, part of the role and function of our union is to safeguard our democracy. We are enshrined, labor unions and labor rights is enshrined in the Constitution. And the Constitution of Grenada still stands. So to those persons who may prefer that the union not speak at all, I will have to say to them, get used to hearing from the union. Because
we got another caller on the line. Caller, you're live. Hello.
Thank you very much, Junior. And I want to say to your guest, people's comment is also part or enshrined in the Constitution. So you spending so much of time focusing on the comments of people, they have a right to comment. But I want to get straight into the meat of my contribution. I want to ask your guests, according to the letter of appointment, can you tell us what is contained therein in terms of the letter? Because before me, I have a letter that speaks to the 5 people that you referred to. One was transferred, and in fact, we should be happy that that person was transferred because that person under that said letter, but was performing. It states that that person is employed temporarily, hired temporarily, and it further states in that letter that the appointment can be terminated on 1 month's notice in writing by either party. I am asking the union, why didn't they lobby the government to change the wording of those letters? Why after the fact? You were there, you have been you're a seasoned public servant, you have been there for so long. What is the union doing as it relates to that? How can you correct that? Because right now you're talking after the fact. Temporary means temporary. The union should be lobbying for government to have these people or the folks in the public service made permanent, appointed by the Public Service Commission. So now you come in and say, well, they've been there 18 years, they've been there 5 years, 13 years. The question is, what did they sign up to? They sign up to a contractual agreement which says that your temporary appointment takes effect on the 1st of July 2013. So that's one. But I want to ask the same guest that you have there, why we didn't hear her union speak about the 63 people who were sent home in 2013, and in fact, clearing the way for the same people, some of the same people that you now speak of. And let me make a correction here. The union really and truly don't genuinely represent these people. They just take their dues. Because when there was increases, Junior, 4%, how much percent that they negotiated for, those contractual workers, they never get 1 cent. The union got their dues and they collected their dues. So all this talk about represent is just a fly in the face. But I am simply saying, why didn't they speak up when the 60-something people or so were fired by the NNP administration, clearing the way for these said people to come in and get employment temporarily? Why they didn't speak up? That's my contribution.
All right. Thank you so much, caller. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Hazzard?
Yeah, well, Junior, what I would like to say to your caller is thank you so much for calling into the program and thank you for your comment. But maybe the caller joined the program late because a lot of the questions that the caller is asking was answered very early in the program. And the caller is asking about 2013 and why didn't the union and why didn't she? As I said before, I joined the union executive in 2019. So, I mean, in my tenure as PRO of the Public Workers Union from 2019 to now, Junior, I must tell you, sometimes when I listen to the public, I think, Daisy Hazzard, you are far more powerful than you think, because it would seem that I am a messiah. It would seem that I am prophetic. It would seem that I can go before. So I am supposed to go back 18 years and advocate for a worker. I'm supposed to go back 15 years and ensure that a worker had or has a proper contract. And if we go through the public service, we will find out that almost perhaps more than 1/3 of the public service has these kind of a contractual arrangements. So according to this caller, I would have that kind of a superhuman power to find all of these individual contracts and arrangements and letters and no letters and fix them way in the past.
But you have an obligation to fix it now. You have an obligation to fix it.
In me all of these powers. Thank you, caller, so much.
But wouldn't you have an obligation when say you didn't have the power to do anything before you took the administrative role there. Now that you do have administrative role there, you have the power to fix it. You have the power.
Junior, but this is exactly why the union is speaking out now. If you're saying, and if your caller is saying that the union has the power to fix it, this is exactly why we are here. So again, thank you, caller. Thank you, Junior. Thank you, public. We are doing what we are meant to do.
Right. Let's take another call. We got another call on the line. Caller, where are you calling us from?
From Grenada.
Right ahead.
I have a question to ask Miss Hazzard. But before I ask the question, I want to share a little history. Every administration that come in power since 1974 has sent workers home, including the PRG. Now, the government is accused of victimization in that case here. And this is a serious claim. So it means, therefore, and I'm asking her, does it mean that all government that came in power has victimized workers? And if the answer is yes, what has the union done over the years when this victimization and then were taking place? Because I didn't see them active and I didn't see them move so swiftly when those things were taking place. So why not? Why so swift?
Right.
When this victimization.
Yeah. Hazzard?
Yep. So thank you, caller, again for your call and your comment. And let me start by saying, Junior, that the workers in Carriacou that the union is speaking out about and representing, one, these are not the only workers that has been sent home by this administration. Where our workers, our members have been affected, be it by termination or movement that is unfair or does not follow the process of natural justice, we are speaking out and we will speak out. And our advocacy on behalf of these members do not only amount to speaking in the public domain. In fact, we have been monitoring this situation for the last 4 weeks or more. We have had several conversations with PS Williams in Carriacou. We have said to the PS Williams that there seemed to be a hasty move to terminate these workers or to move them, and a lot of what you are doing contravenes the very S&O, R&O which you are citing. In our 4 conversations, 3 verbal over the phone and 1 in person with P.S. Williams, we were told, all you don't know what these people do, and I'm sort of prefacing, these people are very political. They worked on behalf of the NNP. We cannot keep them around this government. We cannot allow them to destabilize this government. And so we are doing what we have to do, and more letters and terminations and movements will follow. And so the union will have to do what the union has to do.
Well, let me ask you, Ms. Hazzard.
Hold on, Junior. So let us be very clear that due process has been followed in trying to resolve these situations behind the scenes and out of the public domain. What we gathered after our conversations with both the Minister of Carriacou and PT Ethnic Affairs and with the PS is that there were things that may have happened or perceived to have happened on the street prior to June 30th, where persons took a personal grudge and brought it into a government ministry and carried out administration on the basis of personal grudges. We were told, well, the lady rang a bell in my face. Now, this is a PS saying that. So you are saying to us that you called in a worker into an office for disciplinary action on the basis of a bell being rung in your presence on the street. You are not the PS on the street. You are an ordinary citizen just as any other person. So where a worker has to be terminated or moved, there must be a due process. Even if you are accusing this worker of political affiliation, it cannot be what you say. It cannot be just your word. You have to prove it. There is natural justice and there is due process. And this is what the union is saying. We are not saying whether or not these workers are right or whether these workers are wrong. I suppose when this matter makes its way through the due process, we will hear more of the ministry's case, and it has to be in writing. It has to be that you prepared a file which proved that these workers conducted themselves in a way that contravened the staff orders. It cannot be someone's word. It cannot be that someone feels that me, in my personal capacity, I was slighted on the street. That cannot be natural justice or due process. This administration cannot afford to follow this path, because if this path is followed, then it means that you'll have to look across the service to see where a political person felt they were slighted or something wrong was said to them, where someone perceived that they saw someone behaving in a political fashion, does not follow due process, do not follow the order of natural justice, which gives someone a hearing, which the SRNO speaks to. But we can just see a mass firing of persons within the public service. Do we want to see this in
a mass? When you say again, when you say a mass,
because there is more than 1/3 of the public service under such arrangements, serving for many, many donkey years.
Okay.
And so, if it starts in one location, how do we know when and where it will end? But more to the point, to answer the caller, Junior, yes, governments around the world and in Grenada, administrations from PRG to now have a right to secure their administration. They have a right to ensure that they can put in place in sensitive and critical positions person who they believe will be carrying out and conducting themselves in a policy manner that fits into the policy directive that our policymakers, which would be our politicians, would follow. There are persons who have been sent on administrative leave, members of our unions, PSs, senior workers. There are persons who have been moved out of their substantive and placed in other ministries. The public has not heard us speak about that, because in many of those cases, we believe that the government is doing what it ought to do to secure its position. But we are seeing critical positions. The position of the accountant general still remains. That person was brought in under contract.
Yeah, but let me just get one word in. Let me just get one word in really quick. I know there's a lot.
Go ahead, please.
Right? It is the norm. And it's very clear that we understand that it is a norm for administration that comes in, or incoming administration, to basically put people in position that would fit into their agenda. If, like, for instance, if the NDC is on a transformative agenda and there are people that's in position that doesn't conform to the transformation agenda, it is incumbent on them to make the appropriate move of that particular individual to fit into the agenda. Right. So and it is the norm, because we've seen it in previous administrations. So it's not something far-fetched from the regular. And another thing that you said there, I want clarification, where you said that a mass firing, and I think we cleared that up at the beginning, that it's not a mass firing. It's not 400-500 people. as best as we see here, is 4 people. So when you say mass firing, it's kind of leading to believe that there are so many people that have been fired. So just to confirm again, we are speaking about 5 or 4 people, correct?
And just to correct you, Junior, I did not say that we saw a mass firing. As I said very clearly throughout this program from start to finish, our union is representing 5 workers. If a mass of persons have been fired, we cannot speak to them. We do not know about them. They are not our members. What we're saying is that the precedent that we see being set in Carriacou and Petit Martinique, are we expecting to see that precedent followed across the Tri-Island state and throughout the public service? Because more than 1/3 of the service is working long-term under the same arrangements under which these workers were terminated or moved. Simple. That's what we're saying. It's 1, 2, 3, ABC. Are we supposed to expect that? Is it going to happen? And this is why the union is asking of this administration, if you're starting there without following due process, without following natural justice, where will it end? You make the point, and we're going to make the point again. Many civil servants have been moved, senior positions, many persons have been placed on administrative leave. We're aware of it. None of these persons have come to the union, but we know. We are aware of what's happening with our members. In many cases, we agree with the administration. Persons expose themselves. Person would have been seen to have performed their functions with a sort of a bias and a leaning to a previous administration. And this new administration, this very young government, has every right to look at critical positions and secure or attempt to secure its office. Because Junior, 1, how do you prove that somebody is persuasive, is yellow or green, or will support your policies or not? They've only been in office 2 months. Is there the proof that there are officers around who's going to destabilize the government because they belong or perhaps have a leaning to another party? And is there the proof that persons who have a leaning to your party will work? It is people work, workers work. Where persons don't work, they do not work. But the critical point is that the government, the administration has a right to. They've done it. We know of workers who have cried bitter tears because they've been moved out of their PS positions and other positions. We have said nothing. But Junior, let me ask this public. Are you saying to me that this administration, in securing their transformational agenda, that a worker, a 54-year-old, and another 50-something-year-old who is looking after elderly citizens in Carriacou, are providing daycare services, cleaning up mess after young children, feces, fecal matter after young children, and after elderly people, that the agenda of this government can be sabotaged by these positions, that workers who are not in critical policy-making positions, like your accountant general, like your attorney general, sorry, like your GG, like your, well, the GG is not a worker, but the governor general is still there. The police commissioner is still there. The accountant general is still there. The PSs are still there. Most of them, they are positions and persons we have seen who our workers would have said to us, very, very political in conducting their duties, they are still there in critical positions. So right. If there is a transformative agenda that the government is pursuing and they're securing their position and their governance, how does someone who is cleaning fecal matter present such a severe and dire threat to the administration? Let's ask a quick
call and we come back on the caller. Where are you calling us from? Hello? Hello?
Good evening. I'm calling from Grenada.
Yeah, hi. Do me a favor, caller. Do me a favor. If you hold on, caller, if you have me on speakerphone, take me off a speaker. I'm not hearing you too clearly. Let's speak straight into the phone and we'll hear you a lot more clearer. You could go right ahead.
The matter with the work.
Yeah, go ahead.
The matter with the workers. The matter with the workers, was it brought to the labor commissioner? And if it was, what was the decision that was made at that point at that stage? What was the discussion like, and what was the decision that came? Because if there's a matter with labor, we have a labor commissioner. Was the matter brought up with the labor commissioner, and what was the discussion like, and the conclusion at that stage?
Did you hear the caller?
Yes, I heard the caller. Thank you, caller, for your comment and for your question. So, caller, this is a very new matter. Most of these matters started about a month ago. The persons that we're talking about here were effectively transferred Monday, August 1st. Some persons were transferred in July, but to take effect in August. As we said before, the union has reached out, as we do. Typically, once we become aware of a situation, the first thing that we do is we reach out to PSs. Generally, in the norm, since I've been in this union, what the PS would do is invite the union for a sit down, we'll trash out the issue, and we'll sort of try to determine how do we go forward. What we saw in this instance was the PS said, I don't really want to hear what the union has to say. I am going to do what I'm doing in Karaku, and the union should go ahead and do what the union has to do. And so the union is doing what it has to do. This matter has not yet made its way to the Labor Commissioner. We have written, in addition to speaking with the PS, we have written to the PS, we have written to CABSEC, and I think we have also written to, let me see if I could consult my notes. I don't think as yet this matter has made its way before the Labor Commissioner. But the concern that we have is that when this matter makes its way to the Ministry of Labor, the Labor Minister, who would at some point perhaps may have to adjudicate on this matter, because we've seen that happen before, may have to sit on this matter and may guide and direct the process in this matter. But we've seen that Labor Minister and Attorney General speaking out on Sunday, after having said that on Friday she had become appraised of the matter and she had not done yet any investigations, by Sunday saying, I've investigated this matter and whatever was done legally and morally. How can the public, how can this country, and how can the union and the workers be satisfied that when this matter gets before the Labor Commissioner and the Minister for Labor, that they will get a fair and just hearing according to our constitution and laws in this country? Junior?
Yeah. 717-015-720, guys. We open up the phone line to get your questions live on air. Again, you could call WhatsApp or you could call direct. The number is 718-701-5720. Of course, we're speaking about this very contagious issue. It's been circulating through the blogosphere for this past couple, for at least this week or so. And it's good that we get clarification. It's good that we have that conversation, because I'm fully aware that there are information that has been circulating that is completely incorrect. And it's good that we address this and put it all into perspective. So when we have this type of interaction, it's good that we could hash out all of the BS and get the facts. Again, so we want to get the question. I see a lot of comments in the chat, guys, but we're inviting you guys to call in as well. Again, the number is 718-701-5720. We got another call on the line. Caller, go right ahead.
Yes, good night. It really hurt my heart to hear that Ms. Hazzard is saying that I made 11 and a half years in the ministry. I was paying union dues for 11 and a half years. They told me Thursday morning I went down to work. I was handed with a letter of termination. I had 3 children in school. I just took a mortgage from the Co-op Bank to build a house. When I went to the union, the same union, they tell me they cannot do anything for me. So it's so sad, and it hurt my heart to see and to hear Ms. Hazzard is speaking out now. And I know that I was politically hired, and I had the very same letter that person had. So why know that person, it's a problem and it causing chaos? I believe it's an act of malice. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Hazzard, why no?
I'm not sure I can answer. I'm not sure if I can answer the question why no, Junior, because as far as I know, there is a public workers union. I am a member of that executive, and we have a constitutional mandate, and we also have our mandate from our workers. So when I hear the question why no, it's difficult for me to answer that. Is it that people are suggesting that the union should not do its work, or that the union should cease and desist at this point, or we should fail to exist? And is it that person, as I asked you earlier, Junior, are you asking me, and is the public asking me to account for, from 1931 to now, the conduct and the representation of the Public Workers Union? If that is the case, again, all I can say is it seems that I am far more powerful than I know myself to be, and that I've been blessed with powers that the average human being don't seem to be blessed with. But I want to say to the caller that I'm very sorry that you worked 11 years with the government and people of Grenada and that you were wrongfully terminated. And that also if the Public Workers Union failed to represent you, that was wrong. I do not know your circumstance. I do not know the details of your case, so I cannot pronounce on it. But I'm very sorry to hear that you feel that the union has failed you. And if I have failed you as PRO of this union, then I'm so sorry. That is all I can say at this point, because I do not know the details of your case. In my representation of workers, I go above and beyond the call of duty. Whenever a worker bring a matter to me or I'm aware of a matter, I work assiduously on it. And I can say to you, Junior, that I'm very happy and very proud to say that across the length and breadth of the public service, workers commend me for this daily. I make my PRO duty at this point almost my life cause. And I'm proud of my service. I'm certain I can do better, but I'm very proud of my service and my representation of workers.
Got another call on the line. Caller live, where are you calling us from?
Hi, I'm calling you from Toronto.
Toronto, go right ahead.
Yeah, so I want...
Yeah, go ahead, caller. All right, we lost that caller. Again, 718-701-5720. That's our number. You could call in live and with your input on the program right here. You could call on the WhatsApp or you could call on the direct phone lines. All right, we got a call on the line. Caller live, where are you calling us from?
Hi, I'm calling from Grenada.
Grenada, go right ahead.
Okay, I cannot speak on matters of the law, but I can take just a general perspective on certain things. I mean, let's be realistic here. We're talking about a just ended political campaign that was very heated. There are rules and regulations concerning, how civil servants and public servants should conduct themselves during a campaign. What they can do publicly, what they cannot do, what they can do, and that type of thing. Carriacou is a small place. Everybody knows everybody. When you have people who are openly campaigning, wearing colors, throwing words, cussing out people, because at the time they were so absolutely certain that they would be getting back in office. So they were acting recklessly, cussing the then representative and people that were representing the current administration at the time. Yes, they were not ministers at the time, but being extremely disrespectful. And as Daisy herself said, there is a claim that one individual actually went up to the permanent secretary and rung a bell directly in that person's face. And what she's saying, her comment is that that was something that occurred on the street, so that person should not be held accountable, when they get back into the office or something to that effect. I mean, can you imagine me meeting my boss on the street and disrespecting him at a bar or something like that and walking into the office the next day with my pressed suit and acting as if nothing happened? I feel as if we're all human beings here. And like I say, I don't know the law. I'm not going to talk about the law, but this is a lot for people to have to deal with and still have, these people around them. Especially there's been allegations of people being extremely incompetent and that type of thing. I mean, it's a whole thing. This is a new administration, and I feel as if they have the right to make changes that are in the interest of the transformation agenda. That's my comment.
Thank you, caller. Yeah. She's done. Daisy, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, so she's saying, is it right that they could disrespect the PS or whoever that for that matter on a Sunday, and a Monday walk into the office like if nothing happened?
Junior, the caller spoke to transformational agenda and people breaking laws, meaning the SR&O. And Junior, the question that the union is asking, and which we know has not happened, has due process followed? Has natural justice, the order of natural justice, been allowed to take place? And is it that this caller is saying that because there is a new administration, that laws of Grenada, the same SR&O that applies to the worker, where the worker can be terminated, the same SR&O that gives that worker the right to a due process, the right to a hearing, the right to be able to defend themselves, the right to be presented by their accusers and with evidence. Is that caller saying that there's a new administration, and so therefore the laws of natural justice and the rules and the laws on our law books in Grenada, that constitution and those laws went out the door when the new administration took place? Is that what we are saying? As the union have said before, and I'm saying, we agree with the administration in moving some people, in sending people on administrative leave. We also expect that there may be some more things coming down the pipeline. The government has a right to do that. What cannot happen is that natural justice and law cannot go out the door because there's a new administration in government. That just cannot happen. And if the supporters and if the caller is someone who is supporting the government and is close to the government and believes that because this administration is in office, therefore we ought not to ask for due process, where you are using the same SRNO to terminate the worker, you're ignoring the sections that says this worker has a right to due process, then we are in for a rough time.
But is it right? Is it okay for a worker to disrespect a senior official, his boss or her boss, on a Sunday and walk into the office on a Monday like if nothing happened?
First of all, Junior, at the time when these incidents were alleged to have happened, and I use the word alleged, and the caller also did, one, the Minister for Carriacou and Petit Martinique Affairs was not Tevin Andrew. The PS in the Ministry of Carriacou and Petit Martinique Affairs was not Mr. Williams. Secondly, if I want to cuss my boss, maybe I morally shouldn't do it. But we know in the public service, if you want to cuss your boss, you step out of the premises after 4 and you can tell that person, because we are all human, as the caller said. And there are times that workers have done it. We are not condoning it. We are not saying that that it should happen. But as the caller rightly said, those persons are human. And likewise, everybody else is human. It happens. It happens in the army. It happens everywhere. You want to say something to your boss, you step out after work. You may speak to your boss in the office, but when you meet he or she on the street, you're not obligated to even say good morning. There is no law that asks you to do that. We are not supporting and condoning any wrongdoing on the part of workers, Junior. All we are saying is natural justice and the laws of Grenada must be allowed to function. And the same SRNO which terminates the worker or moves them, the same process that allows that should also give the workers due process. And if we are saying that under this administration, we ought not to follow law and order, rules do not matter in our country, then we are in for a rough ride. And I really do not believe that this is the intent of this administration, nor the Prime Minister of this country, because the principles on which our Prime Minister campaigned was the principles of no victimization, was saying that no worker would lose their job, was saying that there will be one public service, and the issue of contract and unestablished work, we are going to clean this up. This is what the NDC campaigned on. And so are we now seeing that there is a deviation from those campaign promises to a policy that says, I can hire and fire at will, where I feel that someone is political. And yes, we live in a society where everybody makes presumptions and assumptions of persons, and we know who each other are or is. And can we say that it's enough to just say, I know her and I believe she supports the NNP, or she wore a green jersey, so let's fire her? Well, what about all the workers across the system who wore yellow jerseys? What about all the workers across the system who supported visibly, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on social media platforms, and the same SRNO says you ought not to do that? And so are we saying that it was acceptable and is acceptable for persons who support this administration to have come out in the public, visibly and openly supporting them with colors, but it was not acceptable for someone because they were on the green side? Are we following natural justice, or is it that it's vengeance for anybody who we believe may have been a supporter of the Green Party, but it's acceptable for persons who are supporters of this party? Is it a country we are forming? Is it a state? Are we protecting a democracy? Are we serving a democracy? Or are we going along the lines, well, when one party is in color, it's a law according to them. And when another party is in office, sorry, I meant office when I said color, it's a law according to them. And all this union is saying is, we have a mandate to, this is the premise on which we function, to advocate for and defend and support our workers, and we will do so.
Let's take another call. We got another caller on the line. Caller live. Where you calling us from? We have exactly 5 more minutes, and we have to wrap it up. So let's make your comment
So
sort of brief.
I'm going to be really quick.
Yes.
Because I was disconnected earlier, calling from Toronto.
Yes.
I really, again, Ms. Hazzard, thank you for sharing some light on this. And I think one of the things that I'm hearing, and I wanted to sort of bring to light, is that we're not the person that were being accused of ringing the bell in their face. They were not the PM at the time. The PS at the time. The minister was not the minister of the time. So I think it's really important. What I'm hearing, and I know the PM very well, and I know that he will not stand for that. So I really think that this needs to go back in the boardroom of the union and the government to discuss, and it should not be part of the public opinion. However, I am concerned that the Minister of Labor and the Attorney General have already done their investigation and already come to a conclusion. So I think it's really important that, the PM sort of pull his cabinet into line and say, you know what, this is when you're going to speak, because this is literally interfering with process, if you ask me right now.
All right, caller. Thank you so much for your input. Guys, again, we are already a little bit over time. I also wanted to talk about the TAMCC issue, but if you could just give us at least 5 more minutes, Ms. Hazzard, because it's just so much calls and so much on people are trying to get their points in. Caller live, where are you calling us from? Hello?
I'm sorry, I did not hear you.
All right, we lost that caller. Again, 718-701-5720. You could call in live on air, WhatsApp, or you could call in direct. 718-701-5720. While we wait on the call, I got to do this, guys. We haven't taken a commercial break. I'll take it after this call. Caller live. Where are you calling us from?
Yeah, Junior, I'm calling from Grenada.
Go right ahead, Grenada.
Yeah. Well, I was really supporting the union for a while.
Uh-huh.
But then I realized that she have a political agenda. So really and truly, really not going anywhere. Thank you.
Okay. You have a political agenda?
Junior, I'm just going to smile. The Public Workers Union supports workers. We defend workers. We stand by our workers. We advocate for them. I have done so as PRO for the last 3 years under the NNP administration. My workers who I represent have commended me and said to me, Ms. Hazzard, thank you for your representation of us and ventilating our issues. And I will continue to do so under this administration.
All right, got another call.
I do not know about political agendas. I can't speak to that.
Hello.
All right, take a next call. Caller live, where are you calling us from?
I'm calling from Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, New York. Go right ahead.
Yes, so what I got to say to them, because I just think like there is so much noise, and a prime minister have a right to dissolve any cabinet that was former cabinet and bring in his own cabinet. So if he want to change the people that is in certain agencies, he have a right to do it, because they could be undermining his situation.
Okay, thank you, caller. More of a comment, general comment. We got another call on the line. Caller live, where are you calling us from?
Hi, Junior. Good night, Canada. I have a quick question for Daisy as it relates to TAMCC. It's Shavana.
Yes, hi, Shavana.
I've been asking for the longest while.
Yes.
So for the past 3 months, Junior, I have been waiting on a transcript from TAMCC. I've paid. I personally went to Grenada and paid for it. I've been calling every day to see what's going on. I've been told it's ready, but it's not yet dispersed. I have a friend who is also waiting on one. She was told they're not giving out transcripts at the moment, and it was all being said that it's due to the ongoing industrial action going on at the college. Now, my question to Daisy is, what is the union doing there to assist the workers in settling what's happening? Because based on what I'm picking up from the workers, it's an issue relating to the principal, and the union seemingly not doing much to help them. And in the meantime, students are suffering. People can't sign up for university. People can't further their education because they're waiting on a transcript. What is the union doing in this regard to help? Because some of us are really frustrated and in urgent need of a transcript.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Siobhan. Yeah, Daisy, what is the
union?
Thank
you, Junior, and thank you, Paula. And Paula, you're asking questions to the union that rightfully perhaps you should be addressing to the administration, because we do not govern the TAMCC. What we do is represent. Yes, Junior, I'm here.
No, sorry, go ahead. No, that was...
Right. I'm saying to the caller, thank you for your question and your comment, but you're asking questions that the union will not be able to answer because we do not govern or run the TAMCC. The TAMCC is run by a council and it's under the mandate of the Ministry of Education. So in terms of transcripts and why you are not able to get it, I think that rightly, that question should be put to the administration and to the council of the TAMCC. Now, as for the union and the workers have been on the picket line for the last 3 months, going on more. That started under the previous administration. We started with very soft industrial action. It gradated over a period of time to full-blown strike action. On June 14th, and I'm just kind of trying to proceed very quickly because obviously there would have been a lot of moves on the table prior to June 14th. And we were told that the government had advanced, that was then the NNP, $1.3 million to take care of the increase to workers and their outstanding increments. As the public would know, as the union has said many, many times in the public domain, these workers have not received a salary increase for over 12 years. They are owed increments for a period of 3 or 4 years. Some was paid in 2019. So this matter has been under industrial engagement since June, full-blown strike. When that promise of $1.3 million was placed on the table in June, back under the NNP administration, it was not enough. It could not have, it didn't suffice to take care of the problem. What we subsequently learned is that the government at the time had actually approved $3.185 million way back in June to take care of the TAMCC matter. But somewhere along the line, some persons decided that they were not going to spend the $3.18 million to resolve the situation at the TAMCC. The principal has played the lead role as lead negotiator, and in the point of view of the union, he's been abysmal in that role because he really has not at all brought any kind of resolution to the table. He would make promises even before the labor commissioner. He would commit to coming back on dates with information to union and labor commissioner, which is Ministry of Labor, and then fail to do so without providing any response or excuse that made sense. That matter, of course, was then placed before the new administration, P.S. Finley Jeffrey and Minister David Andrew, of course, when they assumed office in June, or it might have been like 2nd or 3rd July. What has happened since is that the union spoke out about this matter. And after speaking out about it, because we've been delaying speaking, we did not want to come out in the public domain very early in the term of an administration to ventilate any industrial matter. But it has been 2 months almost. Well, actually, it's 2 months now. Last Thursday, when we spoke about this matter, it was shy of 2 months by a couple of days. And knowing that the money has been placed on the table since June, the question is, what is taking the administration and the Ministry of Education and the college so long to resolve this matter? However, we would have heard from P.S. Finley Jeffrey, I'm trying to pull up a message that I have from him here, that a council has been instituted, and that council will meet on Friday. They were due to meet today. Today is Wednesday, but they didn't meet. That council is due to meet on Friday. That council will take over that industrial situation from the total power of the principal. And we are expecting our workers to be paid. There is that commitment on the table. And so we believe that the situation with TAMCC should resolve itself within the next couple of days. Also, we are very, very sorry that persons and students have had difficulty registering or receiving their transcripts. The union does not have sway over that. But we are appealing to the administration and the government. We have their commitment on the table to resolve it within the next couple of days properly. And so we hope that the TAMCC can get back to its proper functioning, because we know that the role that the TAMCC plays in the development of our country and any transformational agenda which this administration would have to pursue.
I think we have a follow-up. Yeah, I think we have a follow-up by Siobhan. Siobhan?
Hello. So I'm listening to Daisy, right? And I'm understanding what she's saying, right? But when I discuss this with a number of individuals, most people are laying the blame solely on the acts of the principal. Now, is the union in any way, or is there anything the union can actually do to light fire under these people's foot? Because my concern is not the fact that government plainly, excuse my language, right? I am in solidarity with the workers. Let's not get it wrong. But at the same time, I am in solidarity with the students who can't even register for college. I'm in solidarity with the students who can't register to go to university. I'm in solidarity with myself because I can't even start school because I'm waiting on a transcript 3 months now, okay? And every time you call, you're getting the same response. Tell the government to fix it, or tell the union to do something about it, or tell the principal to fix it. I don't know. Everybody's blaming each other. But the fact is, at the end of the day, we like the workers, we are suffering too, and we are really in solidarity with the workers. But at the same time, you can't hold everybody hostage, like your future generation. Something has to be done.
Yeah.
Thank you, caller, for your comment. And as I said, we do empathize because we know the value of the TAMCC to our education system and to the wider development of our country. This is where our students are prepared to go abroad to take up tertiary education and jobs and all that sort of a thing. And so from the union's point of view, I've tried to answer what we can answer. We cannot pay the workers. That is up to the Ministry of Education and the TAMCC Council. And as I've said, we have had communication from the Ministry of Education through PS Jeffrey that the monies are on the table. It's been made available again, and that a new council has been hastily impaneled by the Ministry of Education. That council will have a meeting on Friday. And so we've been given the assurances from the Ministry of Education that council will now quickly move towards paying these workers and resolving the differences that are on the table. Everything is not going to get resolved, but we are really hopeful that certainly the council and the administration will ensure that in the swiftest possible time, the situation is resolved. And the caller made a point, lighting fire under someone. And the someone that we had to light fire under was this administration. And this is what we did on Thursday last week, because the TAMCC matter has been left to prolong for too long. This administration has been in government for 2 months. And as I said before, when they came into office, they already made the provision of $3.185 million in place, prepared by the previous administration to resolve the TAMCC matter. They've topped it up so that for this year, we are not going to have a problem at all. But it took too long. And so this is why, the caller said, light a fire under somebody. The somebody had to be the administration. And this is why we came to the public. Thank you very much last Thursday.
Got another caller, and that might be our final call. Caller live?
Yes, hello?
Yeah, hi.
Oh, I'm calling from Canada.
Canada, go right ahead.
Okay. I understand what she's saying also, but to me, I just feel like everybody needs to work together back home and get sorted out instead of blaming each other, putting blames here and putting blames there. That's the issue with our little country. Nobody's trying to step up and trying to figure out how to fix situations and how to, like, it's as in the workplace, as she's talking about, nothing can happen. I'm in Canada. There's no way I can go up to my boss and disrespect him and expect to go to work the next day. Doesn't matter what union I'm in. Sometimes you sign a contract, and when you sign something, you are responsible for your own self. That's how I say it. You're responsible to make sure whatever you sign, whatever you put on paper, that you're supposed to follow it. Yes, the union have the right to put up for you, but you also have to take the responsibility too. They may fire the person on the spot and may not give them the chance. Who knows? But at the end of the day, as a worker, you have to be responsible for where you're working. You are responsible for that. And people need, and in Grenada, I'm in Canada and I listen to a lot of the stuff that's been going on, and I feel like a lot of people just need to more work together and stop working against each other.
Right. Thank you, caller.
You know? Thank you.
Thank you for your input.
Junior, perhaps the caller was not listening. So let me clarify again. No worker went up to no boss and disrespected any boss. The PS in the Ministry of Carriacou and PT Martinique Affairs today was not the PS when he alleged that he was disrespected. Neither was the Minister for Carriacou and PT Martinique Affairs when he alleged he was disrespected. Neither was he the minister. So no, and it has not been proved. There is nothing on any workers' file that proves a case that followed natural justice that says, I was disrespected. But even then, that person was not the minister, neither were they the PS or the boss. We have, I mean, I don't know how much clearer I can say it, but the public knows dates. And so we can look to see when that person became the minister and when that person became the PS and when they alleged that they were disrespected. If it's on the workers' file, it will come out in the due process when it gets before the Ministry for Labor or anything like that. But we have not seen any evidence of that. No such evidence was provided. On the question of working together, this is what this union in the last several months went out in the public to see, that we need an administration who will work for everybody in the state of Grenada, that we deserve an administration that's going to heal the public service and create one public service, that we would like to see some kind of a change to what we saw before, which was a 15-seat majority government, 2 successive terms that were acting excessively in government. I personally, as PRO, have done countless media outings in the last several months, not just January to now, but all of last year, saying to this public, when we go out to vote, let us vote sensibly and let us vote so that we can heal this public service, that we can bring back balance to our democracy, so that we can begin to work together as a people and heal this nation, because this nation needs healing. And if we are saying now that there is a new administration in town, and so therefore anything goes once it satisfies persons who support that administration, I don't know that healing can take place. But this is what our union went out in the public, that I went out in the public to preach and to advocate for. And we are looking forward as a union to working with this administration, to fixing all of these chronic and long-standing issues in the public service, and to bringing back some healing and some balance to our country, so that we are not so divided up along political lines that everything becomes a question of yellow or green, but really as a people, we are advocating for our country and working to build this great state of Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique.
Absolutely, absolutely. I promise I was the last call, but this is the final one. I promise you. This is it. This is it, Daisy. All right, caller, you're the final caller. Hello?
Thank you. Hi, Junior. Good night. Daisy, good night. I have 2 questions for you. One, I want to find out if the PS wasn't a PS before, or if the person just become a PS. That's one of the questions, and I want the answer clearly, yes or no. The next one is, what's about the people that had been working, spraying their hands in school and didn't get no salary? Did the union investigate and find out why? Because it's workers' rights you're fighting for workers. Did the union go to find the companies they were working with to find out why these people not getting the salary? And I would love to hear the answer for these 2 questions, please. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you.
Absolutely, caller. Let me answer your question. That to the best of my knowledge, Mr. Javan Williams has been appointed as PS for several years. I do not know the permutations of his appointment. I don't know whether he's a permanently appointed PS or whether he might have been a PS acting on assignment. What I do know is that prior to July, he was not the PS for the Ministry of Carriacou and PT Martinique Affairs. And caller, I want to say to you, if we are to look to the letter of the law and of the SR&O, the SR&O does not only speak to 27, but it speaks to persons conducting themselves in other employments that conflict or compete with the employment that they are in with the government of Grenada. It speaks to persons being out of the job and being out of the office. There are so many rules and regulations under the SR&O that if we open that can of worms, there are so many regulations that governs how a PS conducts himself when he steps into an office and presents himself to the workers of that office as PS. There are so many of those that if we open that can of worms, we may find that the SR&O can be applied as well to the office of PS in the conduct of his duties in Carriacou. So I would want to ask us not to open that can of worms. The union does not want to go there because the PS in Carriacou is our member as well. Secondly, the question that she asked was about the workers who are sanitizing in schools. Workers, as I said before, callers, I said before, I am only Daisy Hazzard, your humble servant, human flesh and blood. I represent the workers of the PWU who are government workers under PWU because I am also a public servant in that part of the civil service. I do also as well when I speak on behalf of all of labor in Grenada because I choose to do so in my personal capacity. I choose to do so from my heart. And because my conscience and spirit asked me to do that, that is not my mandate. But when I speak, I attempt to create a labor environment for all workers in Grenada. And I want to answer the question that workers who are not unionized, workers who only started working in 2020 or 21, when the pandemic hit Grenada, reached out to me to ask about their salaries, the same sanitation workers. And although they are not members of my union or any union for that matter, I investigated their matter. And I went back to them, the ones who reached out to me, with information saying to them that under the previous administration, the company under which they were employed received hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars from the then administration to pay workers, and that they should have been paid for July because they worked for part of the month. So their salary might have been a whole month's salary or part thereof, as dictated by the law, and that they should ask their company to pay them, but also that that same company has invoices in the Ministry of Education that have not yet been paid by this administration. And so the company is saying to those workers, until we receive that final payment that we are due by this administration from the Ministry of Education, we cannot pay you. I am so very happy that you asked the caller question and that I was able to answer.
Yeah. So Daisy, I guess the real core of the problem here is the contract. I guess the structure of the contract, because it cannot continue to go on where people are working without a contract, or the contract, there are so much flaws in the contract. So it's on the union to fix that problem. So correct me if I'm wrong, the union should be working strong here now into fixing the clause of the contracts going forward, correct?
Junior, I do love you and I love your callers and viewers. It seems that any and every problem that presents itself in Grenada, the union can fix it. And perhaps there is no role for the administration. But I want to say, Junior, we are working, we have been working to help resolve this problem, but we are not the policymakers. We do not hire, we do not fire. It is under this administration now to keep their campaign promises, to honor the promises in the manifesto, to heal the public service, and to ensure that long-standing workers, not just contract workers, because not everyone holds a contract, but persons who have been working without the benefit of proper regularization will be regularized, will be placed under the permanent establishment. This is what was promised. I don't know how it's going to be done, because there are numbers that we are working with, but also that these workers can receive job letters and appointments that would allow them to live safely, without fear in this country, and can pursue lives because they are working, they are in our hospitals, they are across our public service, they are in every single ministry and government department that you can think about. And I have heard Honorable Deacon Mitchell pronounce on this on the platform, and I do believe in his sincerity in wanting to work on this problem. And so the union is looking forward to working with the administration to come up with solutions to fix this problem of unestablished work. It's not just contract.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Daisy Hazzard, we love you. My viewers obviously love you.
Absolutely.
We love to have you on. Please feel free to come back.
Well, I must say, Junior, thank you. It has been quite a strain because when you called me today, I wasn't prepared. I don't have my headphones, so it's been quite a strain listening and trying to respond. The lighting is poor, but I am happy to have been able to shed some clarity on this issue and to say to the public, as a union, we will continue to stand for and advocate for our workers. We will continue to solve every problem in this society because it seems that that's the mandate that this society has placed on us. And we are eagerly looking forward to working with this government who will pay our pensions. And that is so historic. It is such a gift from the Almighty that in 2022, we have a government and a court judgment which will give us our pension.
Absolutely. Daisy, thank you. Send our regards to Brother Grimes and the folks at the PWU. We'll keep in touch.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all your callers and viewers.
All right. Thank you. Woohoo! Guys, we are way over time, as you well could see. A lot of stuff ventilated here today, guys. I reading through the comments, guys. Listen. My view on this. If I bring a guest on here, my purpose is not to fight with my guests. I don't get involved in that. All right. It's important to have the guest speak and articulate what she's here to articulate. Of course, we have many questions which was put forth, and tons of calls who also had points to make as well. But my job is not to fight with my guests. As I say on this program, everyone have a story to tell, and we allow everyone to share their story. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for liking. Thanks for being a listening ear. We appreciate you so much. Guys, we got to tell you about this. If you have a business and you want to advertise or event, want to advertise on Ride Along Live, for this until the end of August, we have some very competitive advertising rates. So inbox us for more information how you can advertise your business right here on Ride Along Live. Reach over 3.5 million of our viewers on a monthly basis. Yeah, man. Yeah, you could reach them right here when you advertise on Ride Along Live. Coming up for the Labor Day session, guys. The Labor Day, we have a big brunch. A big brunch. Yeah, it's the Labor Day. It's our rider support group brunch. We do this every year. In fact, we do it more than 2 and 3 times a year. We do it a lot. And aid when the funds we receive from this brunch, we go towards helping, assisting folks in the Caribbean. As you well know, this year we're working on a back to school package, and we're going to tell you guys more about it. So support our Labor Day brunch right here in New York, live entertainment, and a whole lot more, and good food. Oil long and ting. Yeah, oil long and ting. Real oil down, Lambie Waters, real vibes. It happens right here in New York, Labor Day weekend. We're going to post the location by tomorrow. The good thing about it is that, guys, you could pre-order. You could pre-order your oil long, you know. You could pre-order your oil long. Yeah, man, pre-order your oil long. Because you know the oil long does finish quick, right? So we can put the link. You could pre-order your oil long. You could pre-order your lamb. Just pre-order your brunch. Cocoa tea, bacon, saltfish, everything, man. Everything. Everything in full effect. Everything in full effect. So that's our brunch happening Labor Day Sunday right here in New York. Again, guys, we appreciate you and thank you so much for making us your #1 primetime program. On behalf of all our production team here, my executive producer, Lois JJ. In the chat room, we have, of course, the moderator, Kibbs, also moderator Deanne Fraser and Gail Charles, doing such an excellent job on our production and handling all the cameras and handling all the technical part of things here in studio. We have Jacoby George. Big up yourself. Thank you so much. Also, guys, I got to tell you, if you are looking for a production company to live stream whatever event, whether it be a funeral, a service, a concert, what have you, Ride Along Live. Give us a call. We'll give you a really good package to stream your event, whether it's public or private event, funerals, birthday parties, wedding, whatever. We could get it done right here for you on a professional level. Give us a call, 718-701-5720. That's 718-701-5720. My brother Kem Jones is up at 8 o'clock.
This carnival is special one at Spice Isle Jewelry. Get up to 40% off our collection of silver and gold jewelry with purchases above $115. Visit our 2 locations on Grenville Street, St. George's and Spiceland Mall Grand Dance and see our fine selection of traditional West Indian bangles, necklaces, earrings, rings and our unique handmade pieces. Step into Spice Isle Jewelry and shop in air-conditioned comfort with friendly, helpful and courteous staff. We also pay the most for scrap gold. Our repair service is second to none. Treat yourself or someone special with something special from Spice Isle Jewelry. Serving you since 1986. Call us on telephone number 440-3155 or 440-6648. Sale ends August 31st.
Canadian products are now only a mouse click away at GrenadaMarket.com. Nutmeg and guava jams, jellies and syrups, world famous nutmeg pain relief spray, black sage, soursop, lemongrass and guavande bar. Ordering is simple and friendly. All major credit cards accepted. Safe, secure shopping guaranteed. GrenadaMarket.com ships your product anywhere in the world. So when you can't go to the island, the products off the island can be sent to you. Just log on to www.grenadamarket.com and experience our quick delivery and homely service.
Funeral service serve you with dignity and compassion as you mourn. Every day, we embark on the journey of life, and one day, the journey will end. It's on that day that you can entrust the celebration of life of your loved ones to David Williams Funeral Service. Call 718-291-3823.
Export Limited, Toronto, Canada. Shipping barrels and other cargo to Grenada in 3 weeks, including custom clearing and home delivery to anywhere in Grenada. They source, purchase, and ship new and used anything. Call or WhatsApp Eric, aka Greens, on 416-569-9755. That's 416-569-9755. Check us out on Facebook at Green Chicks Export or email us at greenchicksexport@gmail.com.
Well, it's on the right along, so it's happening here.
Came over here. What does it mean? You know, I grew up in what I guess you call a typical family.
We break all the stories, and that's just a fact. And that's why everyone has a story to tell. Right along.